Good afternoon and welcome. This is Spotlight Africa. We're coming to you live from Uyo of the Akwa Ibom State Capital. My name is Uyai Imam. Today on Spotlight Africa, Madagascar military leader dissolves government in surprise move. Guinea opposition reacts to dissolution of 40 political parties. Senegal divided over former President Macky Sall's candidacy for United Nations chief. Tunisia to undertake $1 billion expansion of Carthage Airport. In other news, heavy rains and flooding kills at least 23 in Nairobi. We'll bring you these stories and the details in a moment. Stay tuned. Bringing you stories all around the continent, our first stop would be Madagascar's military, where, of course, ruler Colonel Michael Rajadrina has dissolved the government unexpectedly, dismissing the Prime Minister and the entire cabinet, according to a statement from his spokesperson. No reason was given for the move. Rajadrina seized power last October from Andry Rajoelina, following weeks of youth-led protests on the Indian Ocean island. Rajoelina had been elected president for a third term in a disputed poll in 2023. The demonstrations were over persistent power and water shortages, culminating in the army siding with the demonstrators. Rajoelina has pledged to call new elections within 2 years. Last December, the regional bloc, the Southern African Development Community, SADC, directed Madagascar's military authorities to submit a roadmap for restoring democracy, including plans for fresh elections at the end of February. But in a surprise move on Monday, Rajadrina sacked his entire government and assigned permanent secretaries to run ministries' day-to-day operations until a new cabinet is formed. Rajadrina has not explained the motivation for the mass sackings, but leaders of the Gen Z movement, whose grassroots mobilization helped bring the military leader to power, have called for more inclusiveness in the transition process and greater representation in decision-making structures. Now to Guinea. The main opposition figure, Cellou Dalein Diallo, has accused President Mamadi Doumbouya of attempting to build a one-party state after the government dissolved 40 political parties by decree. Diallo is the leader in the main opposition party, Union of Democratic Forces of Guinea, which was among the parties that were dissolved. Other parties that were dissolved included the Rally of the Guinean People, the party of former President Alpha Conde, and the Union of Republican Forces led by Sidia Touré. The dissolution of the parties comes weeks ahead of legislative elections, which are viewed as a key step in the transition from military to civilian rule. Away from that, Macky Sall to succeed United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Not everyone in Senegal likes the idea. Victims of the violence in 2021 and 2024 under the former president's regime are strongly opposed. So are some of the ruling majority, including this member of parliament for PASTEF. Sall's supporters deny the accusations and are downplaying the opposition to the leader's candidacy. At the headquarters of his party, the Alliance for the Republic (APR), the focus is on mobilization. According to party members, the former president meets all the requirements to lead the United Nations. Sall's candidacy is supported by much of the political class and by the country's trade unions. Writer and social mediator Baldon Dao said it is time to end the quarrel. Sall's candidacy was put forward by the president of Burundi, the current chair of the African Union. But at home, he is still awaiting support from Senegalese authorities. In Tunisia, there is a seeking to expand the main international airport by quadrupling its passenger handling capacity as the northern African country eyes more tourism. The Transport Ministry said in a statement that the project, estimated to cost some $1 billion, is a part of a wider push to modernize air transport infrastructure. The plans include building a new terminal spanning about 80,000 square meters, which will add more check-in counters and security lanes. Tunisia's tourism sector has rebounded strongly after being hit by COVID. In 2024 alone, the airport saw about 7.2 million passengers. Initially, Tunis had considered building a new airport altogether. The Transport Ministry announcement was quite on the source of funds for the project. Tunisia's economy has struggled in recent years, characterized by high debt and inflation. Moving now to South Sudan, healthcare system has been so crippled by years of corruption that when the state governor experienced high blood pressure recently, he had to fly to Kenya for treatment. Ray Guy Cork is the governor of Jonglei State, where conflict has once again exploded between government and opposition parties. His trip to Nairobi was recounted by humanitarians as yet another example of how South Sudan's elite ranked the most corrupt in the world by Transparency International, having allowed services in the country to collapse. As the country tips back into civil war between rival parties, what little health care exists is almost entirely through foreign donors, with more than 80% provided by NGOs like the International Committee of the Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders. In a hospital in the capital, Juba, a soldier told reporters he was amazed to have been airlifted to hospital since most wounded are left to die. In a separate development, a military drone base at the airport of Niger's Tahoua was targeted overnight Sunday. Local authorities said the army fended off the attack, which left several soldiers injured and several assailants dead. Eyewitnesses say unidentified assailants pulled up on motorcycles and that they saw exchanges of fire from the airport and the city center. The drone base was built in 2022, and drones from Niger's Air Force often operate in the area, which frequently faces jihadist attacks. Normally, though the city of some 100,000 residents is spared from such violence. The area is also home to groups of armed bandits as well as smuggling routes for drugs. It comes weeks after the Islamic State group targeted the country's main airport in Niamey. Jihadist violence has troubled Niger, which has been ruled by a junta since July 2023 for a decade. The violence usually involves Al-Qaeda and Islamic State group affiliates. It is unclear who is behind the latest attack. In a rather sad development, at least 23 people have been killed in Nairobi after heavy rain overnight caused severe flooding in Kenya's capital city. Police said about 30 people had been rescued, but many others drowned after being swept into rivers. Some have been electrocuted. Kenya's military has been deployed to help people trapped inside their cars, as police described widespread damage to properties as well as road closures. Several flights bound for Nairobi Airport had to be cancelled or diverted to the coastal city of Mombasa. Ghana calls on Commonwealth to condemn attack on its peacekeepers in Lebanon. Do stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. This is still Spotlight Africa. We're bringing you stories all around the continent. A focus on West Africa brings Ghana to the spotlight, and there's been a call on the Commonwealth to condemn Friday's missile attack on its United Nations peacekeepers in southern Lebanon, which injured 4 of its soldiers. Foreign Minister Samuel Okudetso did not say who was responsible when speaking at a Commonwealth meeting on Sunday, but said the bombing was an attack on every principle that the United Nations Charter exists to defend. Israel has been striking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon after the Iranian-backed Shia group said it launched rockets and drones at the Israeli city of Haifa last week to avenge the killing of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. All the injured Ghanaian soldiers are now in a stable condition, its army reported. Away from that, Sento, a mother of 2, was serving a 1-year prison sentence until a few days ago. On this International Women's Day, her time behind bars has come to an end. She's among 4 inmates granted freedom by Sierra Leone's correctional services. The women were released following an intervention by the Football for Reform Initiative, a gender empowerment program that uses football as a tool for social change and rehabilitation. Johansson added that many of the women end up in prison simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. For the inmates released on Friday, the road ahead will not be without challenges. Supporters of the initiative say it is about compassion, rehabilitation, and the chance to reintegrate into society. According to authorities at the Sierra Leone Correctional Service, more than 200 women are currently held in female facilities across the country, serving various fines and sentences. The Football for Reform Initiative is now pushing for increased legal representation for women in detention across Sierra Leone. Elsewhere, sacks of dried cocoa beans sit unsold in homes and warehouses in the Ivorian village of Kwame Karisoro near Bofele, while farmers hold receipts instead of cash. A sharp fall in cocoa prices over the past year has left beans rotting in some West African warehouses, while global chocolate makers scramble for supplies and consumers seek their fix. Ivory Coast, the world's leading cocoa producer, had to purchase an excess supply of cocoa beans from farmers in January, and this week slashed the price by more than half for 2026. Agricultural workers' unions in West Africa say some authorities were not prepared for a crash of this scale. Hundreds of thousands of farmers in West Africa rely on cocoa farming for a living. In Ivory Coast, government regulators set a fixed price for the cocoa bean at the beginning of every planting season, and the majority of the beans are sold through government-licensed parties to protect farmers from price fluctuations on the international market. In 2024, a surge in cocoa on international markets reached more than $12,000 per metric ton, the highest in decades. Then it crashed to around $4,000 as supply outstripped demand. If we head to Uganda, we see Jacob Kilomo regaining the world half marathon record as he claimed victory in Lisbon on Sunday. The 25-year-old won in 57 minutes and 20 seconds to take 10 seconds off the record set by Ethiopia's Yumuv Kelecha in Valencia in 2024. Kilomo was the previous record holder, having clocked 57 minutes 31 seconds on the same Lisbon course in 2021. The 3-time world cross-country champion also ran 56 minutes 42 seconds in Barcelona last year, but that performance was not ratified by World Athletics because of illegal pacing assistance. Kenya's Nicholas Kipro was second in 58 minutes 8 seconds, with compatriot Gilbert Kipchoge finishing third in 58 minutes 59 seconds. Kiplimo covered the first 5 kilometers in 13 minutes 28 seconds and reached 10 kilometers in 27 minutes. He brought up 15 kilometers in 40 minutes 52 seconds before picking up the pace and covering the next 5 kilometers section in 30 minutes 31 seconds. And these are all the stories we're able to bring to you at this time, bringing you news coverage and events all around the continent. This has been put together by Spectrum Television. Do well to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum Television, Spotlight Africa. Good afternoon.